April 29, 1945, Dachau concentration camp, hours after liberation. For years, prisoners had endured starvation, brutality, and death under the hands of their captors. On this day, as U.S. forces arrived and the gates were opened, rage and grief exploded into vengeance. This photograph shows liberated inmates turning against a fallen guard, a shovel raised in retribution for the unspeakable suffering they had endured. It is a raw, unsettling image, capturing the moment when justice blurred into revenge, when powerless victims reclaimed their agency in the most visceral way. History often speaks of liberation as triumph, but scenes like this remind us of the unbearable weight survivors carried, and the human instinct to strike back when chains are finally broken. A haunting reminder that freedom, for many, began with fury. January 1966, the quiet fishing village of Palomares, Spain, became the stage for one of the Cold War's most alarming accidents. A U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber, carrying 4 hydrogen bombs, collided midair with a refueling plane. The bombs plummeted toward Earth. 3 landed on Spanish soil, contaminating the countryside with radioactive plutonium, while the 4th disappeared into the Mediterranean Sea. This photograph shows the tense recovery effort at sea, as Navy divers and engineers struggled to locate and retrieve the missing weapon before disaster struck. For months, the world watched anxiously as the U.S. tried to contain a catastrophe that could have altered history. Though no nuclear explosion occurred, the incident left lasting scars on the land, the people of Palomares, and the fragile trust in Cold War nuclear safeguards. A chilling reminder of how close humanity once came to unimaginable destruction. 1960s Afghanistan, a time often forgotten beneath the shadows of later decades. In this photograph, young Afghan women walk the streets with confidence, their smiles reflecting a nation that, at the time, was among the most progressive in the Islamic world. Women could vote, attend universities, hold public office, and pursue careers alongside men. Kabul's streets echoed with a mix of tradition and modernity as Western fashions blended with Afghan culture. Yet this era of promise would be undone by political upheaval, war, and extremism, stripping away rights that once seemed secured. Today, these images serve as powerful reminders, not just of what was lost, but of the resilience of Afghan women and the possibility of a different future. A glimpse into a moment when Afghanistan's path looked brighter, freer, and full of potential. In 1985, deep beneath the icy waters of the North Atlantic, explorers uncovered haunting relics of a tragedy frozen in time, the wreck of the RMS Titanic. Among the debris, rows of porcelain dishes lay eerily intact on the ocean floor, perfectly stacked as if still waiting to be set on dining tables that would never be used again. These objects, untouched for over 7 decades, tell a silent story of luxury interrupted by disaster. Each plate represents not just fine craftsmanship, but lives lost, dreams shattered, and a world forever changed by one fateful night in April 1912. More than artifacts, they are ghostly reminders of fragility, how even the greatest marvels of human ambition can vanish in an instant, leaving only whispers beneath the sea. In a Mississippi courtroom on September 21, 1955, history froze in a single, unforgettable gesture. Mose Wright, a black sharecropper and the uncle of 14-year-old Emmett Till, did the unthinkable for the time. He stood, raised his hand, and pointed directly at Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam, 2 white men seated just feet away. With those few words, "Dar he," Wright shattered the silence of fear that had long strangled the South. It was an act of extraordinary courage, in a place where speaking truth could cost a black man his life. Though the killers walked free, Wright's bravery became a spark that fueled the civil rights movement. That moment remains a chilling reminder of injustice, but also a testament to the power of one voice, daring to rise against terror. In this unsettling photograph from the early 1980s, Romanian dictator Nicolae Ceausescu is seen carving a massive roasted pig at a lavish state dinner, smiling as if nothing were wrong. But outside these walls, his people stood in endless food lines, desperate for bread, milk, or oil, many starving as rationing tightened. The image is more than just a leader at a feast. It's a haunting symbol of arrogance, of power completely disconnected from reality. While millions suffered hunger and malnutrition, Ceausescu surrounded himself with abundance, hiding behind propaganda that painted a false image of prosperity. This chilling contrast captures the very essence of tyranny, one man's banquet built on a nation's misery. And ultimately, this excess became his downfall, as rage and despair erupted into the revolution that ended his rule. This rare 1873 photograph captures Apache men in Arizona exactly as they were encountered during a government survey, unstaged, raw, and undeniably real. Unlike the posed studio portraits often created to fit Western narratives, this image freezes a fleeting moment of authenticity, revealing both resilience and vulnerability in the face of a world closing in on their freedom. The men stand against the desert landscape, tools in hand, embodying a culture that had endured centuries of struggle, survival, and defiance. Yet behind their gaze lies the weight of looming change, as U.S. expansion and military campaigns sought to erase their way of life. This haunting picture is more than history. It's a window into a people caught between tradition and the storm of colonization, their dignity unshaken even as their world was under siege. His eyes tell the story before the gunfire ever does. This is Władysław Bilinski, a Polish schoolteacher, photographed in 1939, just moments before his execution. In the opening months of World War II, the Nazi regime launched a brutal campaign known as the Intelligence Action, aimed at exterminating Poland's intellectual elite, teachers, priests, doctors, artists, anyone who could inspire resistance or preserve national identity. Bilinski's calm but weary gaze reflects both the terror of imminent death and the unbroken spirit of a man who knew knowledge itself was the enemy of tyranny. More than 60,000 were murdered in this wave of executions, an attempt to decapitate an entire culture. This haunting photo is not just of one man. It is the frozen defiance of an entire nation, refusing to let its spirit be erased. It looks almost playful, yet hides a deadly truth. In 1982, the HMS Conqueror, a British nuclear submarine, surfaced flying the Jolly Roger, a pirate flag long associated with submarine victories. Just days earlier, it had sunk the Argentine cruiser General Belgrano during the Falklands War, killing over 300 men. To this day, it remains the only warship ever sunk by a nuclear-powered submarine in combat. The flag wasn't meant as a joke. It was a Royal Navy tradition dating back to World War I, signaling a successful mission. But here, the image carries a chilling contrast. A pirate's symbol fluttering above a machine of modern warfare, celebrating a victory that was both strategic and deeply tragic. A reminder that even at sea, history balances between triumph and catastrophe. Those unforgettable eyes weren't a special effect, they were real. Martin Allen Feldman, born in 1934, was a British actor, comedian, and writer whose unusual, misaligned eyes became both his curse and his gift. A thyroid condition known as Graves' disease caused the distinctive appearance that made him instantly recognizable. But rather than hide it, Feldman leaned into it, transforming what many might see as a flaw into a powerful tool of comedy and character. He wrote for legends like Spike Milligan and Marty Feldman's sharp, wit-lit-up sketch shows, but he's best remembered for his unforgettable role as Igor in Young Frankenstein. His look was eccentric, his humor timeless, and his legacy reminds us that sometimes What sets you apart is exactly what makes you unforgettable. In the heart of the 1950s, when America was torn between progress and prejudice, it wasn't just adults who took to the streets, it was children. In this powerful image, a diverse group of kids stand shoulder to shoulder, holding a sign that reads, "No child is free until all are free." Their young faces carry the weight of a nation's injustice, their voices demanding a future they deserved but had yet to see. These were the years of school integration battles, of courage tested in classrooms and playgrounds, of innocence colliding with hatred. And yet, here they are, fearless, united, and louder than the silence around them. This photograph reminds us that freedom isn't inherited, it's fought for, even by the youngest among us. A timeless echo. Equality can't wait for tomorrow, it must begin today. She stands on the edge of a cliff in February 1944, her rifle slung casually over her shoulder, a smile breaking through the storm of war. This young Chinese soldier was part of a generation thrown into the chaos of the Second Sino-Japanese War, a brutal conflict that claimed millions of lives. And yet, here she is, calm, almost radiant, as if daring the world to see more than just a soldier. Behind her, the land she fought to defend stretches endlessly, a reminder of both the beauty and the cost of resistance. This photo captures a haunting paradox: youth colliding with war, innocence carrying the weight of survival. In her smile lies both defiance and hope, the quiet courage of someone who knew that even in the darkest years, the spirit of a nation could not be broken. In this haunting 1870 photograph, we see the crumbling Porta Salaria, once one of the northern gates of Rome's ancient Aurelian walls. Though weathered by time, it held within its stones the memory of one of history's darkest moments. In the year 410, it was here that the Goths under Alaric stormed through, unleashing the infamous sack of Rome. For the first time in 800 years, the Eternal City had fallen to a foreign enemy, shaking the known world to its core and marking the symbolic twilight of the Roman Empire. By the time this image was captured, the gate itself was nearing its own end, soon to be demolished. Yet, frozen in this photo, Porta Salaria still whispers of catastrophe, empire, and the fragile line between glory and ruin. Here it is, Paris, May 15, 1888. Rising from the Champ de Mars like a colossal skeleton of iron, the Eiffel Tower is only halfway complete. The first two levels stand proudly, already dwarfing the city around it, while the upper sections remain a daring promise of what's to come. For many Parisians, this sight was shocking. Critics called it a monstrosity, an insult to the elegance of their beloved city. Yet Gustave Eiffel and his team pressed on, piece by piece, rivet by rivet, defying the skeptics. Within a year, this unfinished lattice would become the tallest structure on Earth, unveiled at the 1889 Exposition Universelle. What we see here is more than construction. It's the very moment Paris was stepping into the future, one beam of iron at a time. Berlin, 1913. Two men stand side by side, dressed in immaculate military uniforms. Emperor Nicholas II of Russia and King George V of the United Kingdom. At first glance, they look like brothers, their resemblance uncanny, both grandsons of Queen Victoria, heirs to empires that stretched across the globe. Yet behind this photograph lies a cruel irony. Within just a few years, Europe would descend into the chaos of World War I, and these royal cousins would find themselves on opposing sides of the conflict. For Nicholas, the war would end in revolution, abdication, and a tragic execution in a basement in 1918. For George, it meant survival, but also the end of monarchies across much of Europe. This single image captures not just family ties, but the fragile illusions of stability on the eve of a world forever changed. A worn passport, stamped with Swiss seals and marked by careful handwriting, carries the unmistakable signature, A. Einstein. Issued in June 1923, this document is far more than travel papers. It is a relic of one of humanity's greatest minds. At this time, Albert Einstein was already a global figure, having unveiled the theory of relativity less than 2 decades earlier, shaking the very foundation of physics. Yet, in these pages, he appears simply as a man with brown eyes, dark hair, and a round chin, details written in tidy script. This passport represents the fragile intersection of genius and bureaucracy, of revolutionary ideas bound in ordinary paperwork. It reminds us that even those who reshape the universe must still carry documents to prove who they are. A Single Kiss Frozen in Time, 1967. A young woman balances on a fire hydrant, stretching every inch of herself just to reach the bus window where her love leans out. Around them, others wait in quiet sorrow, their eyes heavy with the weight of parting. The bus, a cold machine of metal and rivets, becomes the wall between presence and absence, between holding on and letting go. The world beyond this kiss is turbulent. Vietnam rages, protests swell, change grips every street. But here, in this fleeting goodbye, history narrows to 2 souls refusing to surrender their moment. It's a reminder that even in eras defined by war and upheaval, the most powerful stories are written in whispers, embraces, and the desperate hope that love will outlast the distance. Hidden deep in the lush jungles of Kauai, a counterculture utopia took root in the early 1970s. Taylor Camp, born from draft evaders, free-spirited hippies, nudists, and wanderers, wasn't built from blueprints but from defiance, vision, and scavenged wood. Here, makeshift treehouses rose above the ground like fortresses of freedom, layered with hammocks, laughter, and rebellion. For a brief, shining moment, it was paradise. Children ran barefoot, music echoed through the palms, and every day was lived outside the grip of war and conformity. But paradise was fragile. By the late 1970s, Taylor Camp was burned to the ground, erased by the same society it had dared to reject. What remains is this haunting image, ramshackle walls that once sheltered dreamers who believed, if only for a while, that another world was possible. He sits with quiet defiance, his boots worn from marches, his coat heavy with the dust of battlefields. This is no ordinary portrait. It's a glimpse into the soul of a soldier during America's Civil War. Yet, beside him on a simple wooden stool rests his most loyal companion, a black cat, calm and watchful, a rare comfort in an era defined by chaos and bloodshed. While generals plotted strategies and politicians debated the nation's future, moments like this revealed the humanity that endured through the storm. Behind the solemn gaze is a story untold, of nights by the campfire, of fear and longing, and of the bond between man and animal when the world seemed to be tearing itself apart. This photo is more than history. It's proof that even in war, friendship and loyalty carried men through.